Hello, you chat bastards. It is I, Erudi, and hey, we're here to do a little Q&A for Legend Seeker. You know what? I realized I may have just made a mistake that I can't necessarily fix while I'm live. We'll figure that out in a second. But we're here. We're gonna do some Q&A. This is Q&A number 9, and I think like our second official one here on the Moonskull channel. So that makes it pretty cool. And this one's gonna be a little bit more special because we're getting to show off some of the system itself. We're gonna build a character with you today, kind of show you the base idea behind our character building philosophy, how it'll work. And we're gonna build, not the official build, but we're going to do a build for one of our legendary heroic characters known as Zathgoth, the Keeper of Names. And you know what, Mud Dragon? Nobody asked you. Nobody asked you. What do you mean, hi chat? I'm Erudi and I made a mistake. It's fine. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. But in the meantime, let's say
everybody
hello.
Get ready for Erudi rolls. I'm just saying, just get ready for it.
I did pre-roll the stats for this build because I didn't have a good way to put the rolls on stream with everything else. Yeah, it's about what you could expect. If I was rolling my own character, this is how the stats would go. But yeah, so let's say hi to Froste. What's going on, man? How are you doing?
I am doing well. I had a ridiculous day. I had a meeting that was 5.5 hours long. It was great.
Is that really a meeting? Once it's like over 2 hours, I feel like you're out of meeting status. That's just work.
What does it become? I don't know. It was sitting in a call the whole time. So yes, I don't know. It was like televised work.
I think that's good. Televised work. I think I like that. I think it's yeah. There's got to be some status outside of meeting. I don't know what that becomes. Just group work, maybe? Because yeah, that's wow, that's ridiculous. Well, here's your next group meeting of the day.
Woo!
for Legend Seeker. It's got to be a little bit better, right? Right?
Yeah, this has numbers and chat making fun of things. It's entertaining. I like it. I'm here. I'm here for it. All of it.
Wonderful. First you have the pre-meeting meeting. That's true, Two's Nose. Those exist as well.
And the post-meeting.
Yeah.
Wow. Dragon Noodle Soup, the reason I'm low quality is because I'm low quality.
Wow.
I'm pixelated in real life. I don't know what to tell you. We didn't have resolution back when I was born.
Yeah, he's an older model, okay? If you want high resolution, you got to get one of those newer models of old wizard men. Oh my god. But yeah, we're gonna be doing the usual, so bring your questions, and they don't have to be only related to character creation. Obviously, you can ask about lore, you can ask about the setting or whatever. You can ask about Poppy's birthday. It doesn't matter, you can ask about whatever you want, but we're going to be working on that, and then I know Frost probably has a few questions of his own that he's been saving up for me. I mean, anything but sausages, though. Sausages, we don't need any questions on sausages. I see that happening in chat. We've said we know so much about sausages at this point. I think we've exhausted that knowledge base. We can avoid the sausage questions.
Way to wipe out most of my questions about Fryland's eating.
Well, I mean, luckily that's your field of expertise. If you got to ask those questions, that's a mirror operation right there. You got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, because
I just wanted a little bit of clarity, maybe carte blanche to flood that area with sausage facts and sausage, this and that. I'm just saying. I don't want to go overboard, but I want to go overboard.
I think that'll work. That'll work. You can have as much sausage there as you'd like.
Sweet.
I don't know how you name a character horror host, but if there's some clever pun off that and he can be a sausage merchant, that would be incredible. I'll let you think on that.
Making a note.
Oh, God. All right, so let's just start off right off the bat. You usually have a backlog of questions, and we're going to get to the character creation part of this 100%. But did you have any questions up front that you've been hanging on to that have been just itching in your brain, Frost, that you've been waiting to ask me for this exact moment?
Yes, I was working on the magic section that we were talking about. I put a bunch of thought into rewriting a couple of phrases to get kind of myself in the idea of the mana stream, where the mana stream, would live in the minds of people, and the terms that I could use to describe it that would make it kind of representative to them. But in doing that, I was going back to the 8 towers. And I wanted to, and you don't have to name things or explain it now, but I wanted to get in your brain that if we do have that list of them, like the names of the 8 towers, I need to re-find it because I'm putting them in the world. And I'm like, I've got so many notes and so many documents. I'm trying to find out where we put this stuff. So I have the Tower of Dusk. I have. If you look above my head, it's somewhere here. Lost Valara. It's these hills. And I have the magic school on Agrium that was kind of the precursor to that, where none of them could decide to work together before they went off and did whatever they were doing. But I'm gonna need those names again.
Did I give you all the tower names? Is that a thing I ever did?
I think you gave me a couple. And I have one, and I was looking for the other 2 because I thought you gave me a couple, and I'm like, I know I want to name them, and I want to get the magic out, but I also want to make sure that we're on the same page with the types of magic that they work with, given the setting.
I think there was 2 that I did, but I hadn't fleshed out.
Remember 2. Okay, great. That gives me a lot of room. So yeah, just kind of coming up, who are the heads of these towers? Why did they go to these different regions? And what did they hope? What was their argument they were having with the core 8 that made them decide, I'm going to go over here, and this is my goal and mission when I set this up. And that's kind of the idea. Yeah, and how that ties into different types of magic and schools of magic. Because I know, obviously, the mana stream is for all types of magic, everything, all the time. But these towers were all specifically for, I believe, arcane mysteries and arcane magic for the most part. But I mean, one was not for magic, but that's still technically arcane, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and and so something I was considering. So the wizard class is something that I'm working on that is still kind of in flux. So every time I think I kind of have it where I want it, I'm like, that's not quite what I want. One of the things I'm toying with right now is having their usual talent trees and having specializations for those, but also having when you pick your class, you pick a tower, and whatever tower you were trained in, you get a certain bonus of some kind or some sort of feature that comes with that tower that you've chosen. But I've been holding off from doing that until we actually define the towers themselves. So.
Okay, I'm going to work on that then and get some of that out to you so you can look at it and say, wow, or ooh, or both. And there will be nothing to do with slime girls or anything, I promise you.
Wow, no slime girl towers. No.
Nope, that's all from the Brotherhood of the Gilded Veil. They're the ones that made the gelatinous pyramids. I mean, they would be dealing in the slimes.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. The Brotherhood certainly loves their slime. I don't know if they necessarily care whether it's a boy or a girl, but they do love their slime. What kind of bonus, says this eccentric? Well, it's going to kind of depend on what the towers do, so it's hard for me to say now. But I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm doing something similar with the witch warlock class, where you pick a patron from a list, and that patron gives your class a certain kind of bonus or insight. I don't have this prepared on screen, so let me pull it up on my app here, and I'll read you one of them. So here's one. If you pick the placeholder I put for now is Aboleth. I'm going to probably come up with a more generic name for that type of being. But I put Aboleth as the placeholder. And you basically have a basic gift from your patron and an advanced gift that you get later as you've proven yourself. The basic one is you get a +2 circumstance bonus when casting spells with a mind-affecting property, and once per day you may borrow from your patron's vast intellect and gain a +5 circumstance bonus to any knowledge roll, even if you are not trained in that knowledge. And then the advanced gift is you may cast Dominate Person as an innate power once a day. You cast it with a bonus equal to your heroic proficiency bonus in addition to your normal modifiers. So, of course, the idea is that you are tapping into this elder kind of eldritch creature and its vast centuries of intellect and its mental prowess to enhance what you're doing. So there'll be a list of patrons. Some of them will be Warlock and Witch exclusive, and then there'll be some in the middle that you can pick for either side. So it'll be kind of the same concept for the Wizards. It won't have a basic and advanced form. It would just be one generic bonus depending on the tower that you've chosen. If that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. By the way, I have put a couple of creatures in the world that could be considered, and they are patrons to the small cults they have. That I'll let you decide if we put them in here as their own entry in the companion book or the setting guide, if they're available to PCs, because one of them's a little dark, but maybe that works. It could work. That one is in the Soul Spires, and it's called the Darkmire. And this is a bunch of Xerath cultists attempting to stop Grix during the Godkiller War. And they spawned it in the methane-rich swamps as this thing that was waiting to kill Grix's army. And it never died. It completely waited for the army, but ignored the cultist mini and just killed anything coming near it. It didn't matter. It still lives there, just feeding on the methane in the waters and whatever, peat, bracken, anything. But there is a cult of worshippers there. People are an offshoot of Xerath people. And right now I have it as the worshippers are always appear thin, drained, starved, but they have pretty devastating powers because it's a hungry thing. So whether or not you'd want a player to be able to.
So I mean, it could. So more likely, what it'll be. So for example, I put Aboleth just because I need to come up with a broader category name. But for example, your patron might be a Fey patron, and then there'll be a list of example Fey patrons, but you're not limited to those. And the same whatever Aboleth will be under, it might be Aberration or Eldritch or something like that. So yeah, it could be the same thing. That thing you're describing would probably fall under a category, and then narratively you'd probably ask your keeper, is it okay if I'm a patron of this thing? Is that going to mess with the story? Is that too evil or whatever? And they may whatever, but as far as the rules will be concerned, I don't think it'll care. It's just hey, if you have this kind of patron, this is the benefit stat you're going to get.
Makes sense. Yeah, this one is more in line with the idea of Xerath, just a different form of the way that Xerath did things. A bit.
All right, so we'll make a note about that. We'll work on those categories. I'll get some of those names from you, and then we'll talk about towers and what have you. Did you have any other questions that you've been saving up for me before I start moving over to these chat bastards and their questions?
One of the other questions I did have is, I mean, we're doing Godland specific stuff, and I have hinted at the other continents and other things and places that people could go. One of the things, and it will apply to this character specifically, or the race that he comes from, the lizard folk. I have them in Ashvara, which is their kind of displaced home because they used to be in the Soul Spires. They got pushed out by the Godkiller, devastating the place, and now they're more nomadic. But they have legends of their place called Tower, and it's Taur, not Tower. Tower Kodata, which is the island of the Finn or the Great Finn, where they believe they came from, and it technically in the lore of the world is the Umbral Atoll. That's where they originated, because the whole island looks like this big creature sticking out of the water. The question I have for you is, I have other people in other places having little colonies of lizard folk here and there. Do you think that makes lizard folk more or less accepted amongst a bunch of people in the Godlands, or do you think that makes them still pretty much an outsider? If somebody walks into the town and sees a lizard folk in Kiru, they're like, oh yeah, okay. Other places, people just be like, why is that thing walking loose? Or would they be just like, eh?
I don't know if there's anywhere that would be like that thing is walking loose. So we're not playing them quite the same way that D&D does. They're certainly more accepted in common society. Their traditions are strange. Their physiology and how they have to eat and things like that is strange, and people might be put off by that. But them being there is not so much of a thing. They're not what you would look at in this setting as a monster race. It's not something every time you see it, you know something bad's about to happen. But certainly
not like an orc walking into town and people be like,
an orc might be a problem. Even half orcs, though being accepted, are kind of like frowned upon or treated poorly just because they have that heritage. So lizard folk are probably treated better than half orcs, to be honest.
How about those monstrous half elves? Let's talk about those beasts.
Yeah, so monstrous. So monstrous.
Kidding.
Yeah, so not so bad. I mean, certainly there are dangerous lizard folk. There are some tribes you probably don't want to just end up walking into their camp. That'll be bad for you. But more barbaric ones. But there are some that have definitely acclimated to society and are fine.
Okay, yeah, and the reason, like I said, I brought that up is just trying to find out how they fit into the world at large. They're nomadic. They're not by any means a huge portion of the population anywhere. Because not that many.
They're definitely not going to be a primary. It's going to be elves, humans, and dwarves for the most part of primarily populations. But so it's very unlikely you're going to find a major city for sure, or even smaller cities are going to be like, hey, 30% lizard folk. Probably not. It's it's probably in a very low percentage. Most of them are probably mercenaries, nomadic barbarians, and things like that. That don't even homestead in the place. So.
Okay, and I know somebody's going to ask this somewhere. Are lizard folk, are they lizards and they lay eggs? Do they have live birth? Which way you go with that? Because somebody's going to ask it.
I figure lizard folk lay eggs. That's the way I'm thinking about it. But I don't know. As we play tests and get feedback, maybe that changes. But I see them as laying eggs. I don't see them as being an interbreedable humanoid species. You're not going to have half lizards walking around anywhere. Okay. So,
because I assumed that was going to go somewhere, because I know that people like to make, even though they're not monsters technically, they're monster girls and stuff. I'm not picturing anime waifu lizard women with big breasts. So if scaly breasts are your thing, you're probably not going to find. That's not gonna be a thing. Well, I was gonna make a joke about how they carry their eggs in a sling on their sides, but they could. Never mind.
They could. There might be a few that do that. You never know. You
just hear somebody whistle and say, "Nice eggs," and they get slapped.
And hey, if you happen to play a lizard folk who goes into rogue and then later prestige classes into spy, and you're a master of disguise, maybe you put on some makeup and you put some eggs and paint them a certain skin color. I mean, who knows what can happen? But generally speaking, no, they don't. Though they don't have breasts.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right. So yeah, lizard folk are good. I see we got a couple questions from the chatters out there. Let's see. I think I remember there being an evil tower. Does it go down into the ground towards hell instead of up towards the sky? Is it a tower at that point? If it's like
that's a basement or a depression or a hole.
The inverse of a tower. We don't currently have any upside down opposite towers. What's towers backwards? Rawat? We don't have any rawats, unfortunately. So yeah, that does not happen. And then from Havoc, I believe this is. I hate that they changed these all to the ats, and I have to try to remember by association. I've always wanted a combat system that unlocks combat skills as you increase stats, and then have feats modify those skills so that maybe you get like a special charisma skill at a certain benchmark, etc. Oh, that's an interesting concept. We're not doing that here, but that is that is an interesting idea. But I guess in a way, kind of. So our version of feats, which we call edges, they do have requirements on a lot of them, and some of them are like, hey, you need a dexterity of at least 13. So kind of as your stat goes up, you unlock other ones. But I've had a lot of players at my table. There's a lot of power gamers out there. Most of them will have already min-maxed their stat to the point that they're going to be eligible for those feats or edges anyways. But yeah. Inverted skyscraper, crust scraper. Oh god. Mimic towers, those exist. Yeah, we'll definitely have some mimic towers for sure. We'll have mimic everything. You name it, it can be a mimic. Everything.
That country? Mimic.
Yeah, like the whole country's a mimic. We'll even have abstract mimics, like your personality's a mimic. Okay? It's gonna be there's gonna be mimics everywhere. Mimicception and Legend Seeker. And then Havoc also said, our warrior once seduced a lizard woman at a tavern once, had a wild night, and then woke up the next morning pregnant. The lizard woman inserted her eggs into his abdomen through one of his entries. Oh, God. I'm cringing. Oh,
I've seen that movie. It's called
That's a painful thought. I'm gonna pretend that the entry you're referring to is the mouth. Yeah, that's I've decided that's where that went.
Really, I was thinking belly button.
Chris, it really wasn't a question. I didn't need to read that. Wow, just wow. All right, I think I've caught up on the questions. So let's start talking a little bit about the characters. Actually, first, I do want to show you guys something. Hold on 1 second. We're going to go to a BRB screen for just 1 second, chat, okay? Hopefully this is the right thing. Because I just want to make sure that I'm worried that I set up something that's going to not work the way I want it to. So give me just 1 second. Oh shit. That's not All right, there we go, chat. That's exactly what I was worried was going to happen. Yeah, I realized after I clicked it, I had never had to use a BRB screen on this stream before, and I just realized that wasn't a real BRB screen. But oh well. All right, so a few things I wanted to show you guys. Effie, as you may have noticed, hasn't done a stream in a couple months. She kind of let me know that the streams were slowing her down. And she didn't want to do the streams until she got to the point that she was at the underpainting, which she is just about there. So we should see her coming back here a couple weeks, maybe. But she did give me the preview of what the underpainting is going to look like. So you can kind of see that in the back here. And it's looking pretty damn good, I have to say. I don't know how well you guys can see it there. Check. Can I zoom just a little bit? Let me see. Oh, good. I can zoom. That's nice. So you can kind of see we've got our people in the boat here. Some of our legendary heroic characters that'll kind of represent each of our classes. So the one we're going to be building today, Zathka, is right there. And then we've got Godwin the cleric. We've got Kalion back here. He's our wizard. And then we got Nutmeg. Good old Nutmeg, the mum monk. I don't know if we really thought about that alliteration very much when we decided Mum was going to be a monk, but
it's going to be perfect. Nobody would get that tongue tied. Well, yeah, they will.
Absolutely not. And then we've got Varithia back here, our legendary ancient dragon, the size of a hill. And just to give you some perspective, this is a keep. This is an actual keep back here. So that should tell you something about the size of this tree and the size of this dragon. And then, of course, the beautiful Rudy Poos over here in the corner. Hopefully you can see those, chat. Look at that.
You said beautiful. You mean cute, ugly.
Cute, ugly. Sorry. Cute. Yes. Can't take away Effie's terminology. Ugly, cute.
Ugly, cute. Ugly, cute. Yeah.
I think it was ugly, cute. Yes. But yeah, it's looking good. It's coming along really well. I don't know. I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to see when she starts adding her color to it and really adding the depth and texture and stuff. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. So, yep, hopefully 2-3 weeks, something like that. We'll see how it goes. Speaking of,
I'm trying to remember, is the spine right where his leg in the tree is?
Yeah, spine of the book will probably go right down the middle of the tree and probably cover his leg. So all the artwork's going to have kind of a hidden spot there on the spine, but on the inside we'll have an insert of it, so you'll be able to see the full art as well. But yeah, very excited, and she's doing a hell of a job. And we've already planned out the third cover as well, and I've gotten the mock-up thumbnails of those, so coming along, definitely coming along. Effie is knocking this out of the park, I would say. They curl up so fast. Why is it doing hands up, don't shoot? Which one? Oh, no. It's leaping. It's leaping towards the cover because it's scared. The lore behind these things, they're very, 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 very timid. A sound of a twig will scare the shit out of these things, and they flee all over the place, spew their gunk, and it's great. It's wonderful. Loud shrieks.
Like I said, their entire world is calm or Gojira moments. That's all they have.
Yeah, that is the Rudy Poo. Look, I've even got them on my mug here. Pardon the stains. I spilled my coffee on the way downstairs. But cute little buggers. I am starting to agree with you, though. I feel like I should have got the black. Has less coffee stains, and you can see more of the art, I think. But I like it. It's a fantasy rendition of an ice raid? I don't even know where you're going with that, but yeah, you know what? Sure. Common cat panic. Those are pretty. Yeah, that's a pretty good description. Oh yeah. The reason he's pointing back. So if you want to understand the story of what's going on in the scene, these adventurers, for whatever reason, are coming to this tree, which is right in the heart of Elven territory. This is a very important tree in the lore, by the way. And they know that Varithia is nearby, and they saw her sleeping in the distance. They were trying to approach silently and not get themselves in any trouble. But then Zathka here accidentally startled a Rudy Poo, And it panicked, it screamed, it spewed a skunk everywhere. That gunk got on Zathka, who then got pissed because he's an angry barbarian. And he was like, come here, you little... And he's like getting off the boat to go attack these things. And then Kalian looks back and sees Vredka has awakened. Her head's rising from behind the hill, moss hanging from her scales. And he's like, you idiots, stop. And so that's kind of what's going on in that scene. I think it's a cool story. I like what's going on in there.
Yeah, they've got more things against them too, because the other thing is that island is considered like an ancient holy place, because this is one of the 3 oldest trees in existence on the planet, and that island is only supposed to be set foot on by the Elven King and his ministers and the dragon. So nobody else is supposed to go there. Elves don't go there. The Queen can't go there. It's just, you don't do it. And they're like, hey, we gotta go over there.
And that kind of gives you a question. Why are they there? What is the story behind why would they dare, or risk violating these decrees and angering this dragon? There's got to be something important going on, some sort of secret hush-hush kind of thing. And somebody must have rolled a natural 1 and blew it.
They went into the neutral zone unprovoked. This is not a good idea, Kirk.
So yeah, really exciting. And then we're also working on the 3rd cover, and we'll tell you more about that when we get there. Now I think I got all the questions. Let me see. I know Chrysanth is printing them if they show up. Perfect. All right, so let's talk about character creation a little bit. So we're gonna do that. First, I'll show you some of the characters, because hey, that's what we're kind of here to do, right? Zoom back out. In theory, if I hit the right button, it's gonna change. There we go. So here are some of the iconic characters and their artwork. Or this is their concept art, at least. This isn't necessarily the official art for the book, but this is Cassia. She's going to be the legendary heroic character that represents the noble class in our book, which is shaping up to be one of kind of my favorite classes. I really like the concept behind the noble as a playable class. She's very invested in keeper lore, in uncovering their artifacts and trying to understand what those devices do. So you can see her kind of there fiddling with some of those. And she's even got a symbol of the keeper on her clasp. Really cool artwork. And this is Kalian. He is he's our wizard. And he even has a named spell in the game, Kalian's Arms of Fate, in which you cast it and these spectral arms appear on you and they pull at the threads of fate, and you try to pick the best one and save that for the moment you need it, is kind of the idea. So he's pretty cool. This is Godwyn, our version. Godwyn, the Cleric of Senna, which is a very interesting choice of god, considering she is dead. So there's a lot of interesting role play that can be taken into that, and I think he's going to be a very interesting character. And then, of course, we got Nutmeg, our monk. And I don't know, man. When a guy's made a bark like that, I don't know if I wanted to punch me like 4 times in a row in swift succession. I feel like that would hurt kind of a lot. And punching him back, I feel like it would hurt too.
Just a bit.
But he's really cool. Really like the ornamentation he has going on his face there, and his kind of horns. They're not really horns. It's just kind of twisted wood, but they're kind of horn-like, and I think it's pretty cool looking. And then, of course, Zathka, the Keeper of Names, our lizard folk barbarian that we're going to be building today. Tell us a little bit about Zathka. I know you've been working on the backstory a little bit and fleshing that out. So what would be some like, oh God, I was going to say the name for those things that make stories shorter. So Cliff Notes. What are the Cliff Notes of Zathka? I almost forgot it was called for a second, man.
Well, it's okay. You need more coffee. You should have some coffee. I'm just saying you should have some coffee. He is one of the lizard folk that lives in Ashvara. So over here, right above my thumb, there's a little place where Kiru and the Soul Spires meet. The lizard folk were forced out of the Soul Spires by the God Killer War, and they were forced to kind of move into these swampy areas up here. His tribe, this is 1,300 years after the God Killer War, so they're still wandering around because the Soul Spires is not habitable by them. He lost his whole tribe. He's a little unique in, well, when you look at a normal lizard folk, they're scaled people. He has the names of everyone from his tribe engraved on his scales to preserve their memory. And he did this himself. But the most interesting thing is he's not carrying lizard folk weapons. He's carrying the girdle he's wearing, and the blade, in fact, that he is carrying, for most people who know anything about swords, would be like, where did you get that? That is a Kyrian blade. Normally, they're not given to outsiders. This was given to him by Iaga the Blue Heron, one of a very important warlord in Kiru, for services. And they have a little bit of a kinship together. And that is why he has this unusual sword and the girdle and the armor, because he performs some services for them. And they think he's very honorable. They're very barbaric. They're barbarians. He's a barbarian. So they got along quite well. He, unlike what you'd expect from a lot of barbarians, his rage isn't just literally rage. It's more of a controlled fury, and he is hoping to restore the honor of his people. All those that were killed, all those who still live, trying to return them to a place of honor. And this is kind of his goal. But the secret thing is, when his people were killed, he wasn't there to help them, because as a youth, he was foolishly pursuing a legendary glowing fish, and he basically foolishly just left his post, left his area, and was pursuing and trying to catch this fish. And when he returned unsuccessfully, he found that they'd all been killed, and he kind of blames himself because he thinks he should have died with them. But he's also a barbarian, so he gets angry. Can you imagine a lizard screeching at the top of his lungs when it's upset?
Yeah, with his like brightly colored like frill like quivering and like stood straight up, and his tail he's got that massive weapon on his tail, which I really like too, the tail spike that he can kind of swing around and club people with. Yeah, I would want to make him mad. I don't think I'd want to piss that guy off.
No.
He seems pretty tough. I do like that his story's both tragic and kind of funny at the same time. Like, it's really sad that his whole clan got killed, and that he is etched their names into his scales and is going to remember them and get revengeance for them or whatever. But the idea is because that he's been trying to catch this one fish, this fish that just keeps getting away, this glowing fish, and he saw it and was like, no, you're not getting away from me this time, and runs after it to try to catch it, fails. And then comes back to realize everything got fucked up because he went after a fish. I kind of like that too. But
he still hasn't given up on catching that fish too someday. Just,
it's even more important now.
Goal.
Yeah, it's even more important now. So that's an ongoing part of his story. Besides restoring honor to his clan and himself for failing them, of course, he maintains this goal of going after this fish. Can't all be for nothing. They all died for this fish. He's gonna catch it. God damn it.
Yep, it'll be closure if he catches it and gets it. And who knows, maybe he'll have that moment, Old Man of the Sea, he catches a fish and he gets back to shore like, okay, everybody, but, all the other fish ate the fish off of the hook that he was dangling in the water, so he comes back. Oh, man. That'd be a little too tragic, though. Maybe.
It'd be really tragic if the fish just died of natural causes and you never found it. That'd be even sadder. Yeah, so there you go. There's a little up close of his art. But all right, let's talk about the character creation itself. Now let's see if I can figure out how to do this. I was trying to mess with this before the stream and it was not doing what I wanted it to, but we're gonna figure it out together, hopefully. Damn it, why is it not?
The fish was this big.
Oh, come on. Why is it stopping?
Does he have pecs if lizard folks don't? Well, the females have pectoral muscles as well. I mean, everybody's got to have pectoral muscles. Kind of hard to move your arms on them, right?
Yeah, they've got those. They don't have mammaries, right? They don't have to nurse their young. So there you go. All right, this isn't doing what I want it to do. Of course, I was hoping it wouldn't do that. So we're going to switch here. All right, we're going to change from image 1 to image 2. And hopefully this works the way I want it to. Oh, I don't have to turn off the other one. That works out nice. I go to the... Yeah, they're all in here. Why is it not... Oh, it's doing it in a weird order for some reason. I think I just figured out what's going on. You know what? I want to try something. I never used studio mode. We're going to try turning off studio mode. Let's try turning it off and see if I can do this live. So if I do that, okay, cool. So I can do that.
See the man behind the curtain here soon. No.
Well, normally the way OBS works, for those who've never streamed before, is there's a live screen and then there's a on deck screen where you can set up stuff that's not being shown yet. So if you want to make changes to the screen or whatever, or if you're getting the next scene ready, and then you would hit, and then it turns it over to whatever. This mode, which is turning studio mode off, means all the changes happen live. So if I touch anything, you'll see it as it happens, which is good and bad. In this case, we're going to call it good. All right.
I was just going to say phrasing.
All right. So here we go. This is the character score sheet. This is when you finally get to play the game and get to build your characters. This is the sheet you're going to be dealing with. It's got all your stats on here, your core stats, hit points, stamina points, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Your saves, any weapons or traits you have, as well as the condition track. And then the back of the sheet obviously has equipment, has all your skills, languages, talents, spells, and this is an older copy of the sheet. It'll say edges, but currently says feats. And then your spell attack down at the bottom. So pretty standard idea of a sheet. If you've played a tabletop RPG before, you'll be very at home. There's nothing too crazy about our sheets, aside from having a few extra things on here like corruption and stuff that might not be on a normal average character sheet. So yeah, we got stamina, we got hit points, condition track, and corruption. Those are probably the most unique things about the sheet compared to other systems. So I'll just display them to you before we go into the actual build. But we have two types of hit points in this game. You have stamina points and you have hit points. And stamina points represent your ability to avoid danger, to withstand getting hit over and over again. Obviously, like in a fist fight or something, you get clubbed in the face several times, right? And still not be wounded or actually injured. And it's your ability to keep going and things like that. So stamina represents that. It's a quicker resource, and most things that hit you are going to go to your stamina first. And as that wears down, you'll get closer and closer to actually taking damage on the other stat, which is your hit points. You usually have a lot of stamina and a very small amount of hit points. Once it gets past your stamina and starts hitting your hit points, now you're actually taking real physical harm and damage. And you're probably in real danger. If you're getting hit by that's really bad. Most spells heal stamina, not actual hit points. And the ones that do heal hit points don't heal a lot, and require a little bit of time to cast. So you really want to, as much as possible, stay in the stamina pool and not be taking damage to your hit points. Stamina refills faster. It takes 10 minutes to refill your stamina after a combat. You can do things like take a second wind in the middle of combat that'll restore a bunch of your stamina, kind of representing you just getting that extra bit of wind in your sails to keep going. Hit points do not refill like that. They refill very slowly. In fact, only a couple hit points per night, essentially. So the name of the game is trying not to get down to your hit points. Once you're hitting your hit points, you're in the real danger zone. So a lot of times in D&D 5e, it's always a game of pick-me-up. It's okay, he's down, healing word. He's down, healing word, and just keeping him back up again, yo-yoing him. In this game, the name of the game is not letting them get to hit points. If they've got to hit points, you've already kind of failed your teammate a little bit. So you really want to keep that stamina up and keep them away from hit points. And once you're in hit points, that's kind of it's not just a danger zone, it's also a warning, right? Like, okay, guys, there's like 2 or 3 of us who've taken hit point wounds at this point. Should we be considering retreat at this point? Or are we going all in? So like, it gives you a few stages of tactics and combats to be thinking about. You can murder Hobo for sure, Aaron. Again, stamina is going to function like what normal hit points were in like D&D or Pathfinder. You'll have a lot of them and you'll still be able to take a lot of damage before you ever get to the hit point part. It's just more of a, once you get to that hit point range, you know you're in trouble. You need to rethink what you're doing and where you're at. Maybe you're too far away from your group. Maybe you need to retreat behind lines and patch yourself up or something. Somebody needs to give you some stamina, whatever that case might be. So those are those. And we're going to talk about how we derive those in just a moment. Condition track is very similar to what you've seen in, what's the...
Star Wars?
Star Wars, yes. In Star Wars, they have a condition track. So very similar. When you take too much damage at once, so if somebody gets a really nice clock on your jaw and they do enough damage to go over a certain threshold of your defense scores, it won't do damage to your hit points yet, but it will wind you or cause some sort of bodily harm or in some way impede you. So you'll go down on your condition track, and that'll represent kind of having like a bum leg from getting hit too hard in it and just kind of needed to shake that off a little bit. Or, you know, somebody walking up and giving you a swift kick to the family jewels or something, you know, like things that would really start bringing down your ability to do well. But don't necessarily mean that you've taken hit points yet. That is your condition track. And then the last one is your corruption score. And that is something that's unique specifically to the setting involving magic. If you're homebrewing, you can optionally ignore that box. But when you're playing in Erudia specifically and casting spells, there are things that'll give you corruption points. The mana stream is inherently destructive. It is not your friend. If you're careful, if you're responsible, if you use a focus, if you do all the things you're supposed to do, it's an incredible tool. Much in the same way that a gun can be an incredible tool, or a knife, or whatever. Use it poorly, and there are additional consequences besides the bad things you did. If you let it in enough, if you do enough bad things, if you misuse it enough, it can actually consume you. It can break through that metaphysical barrier between you and the mana stream and take control of you, and you become an agent of destruction on behalf of the mana stream. Your character becomes alignment true evil. Your character essentially is dead. That is a character death in mechanics, but in narrative, you become an NPC for your keeper. There's a very, 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 very difficult process to potentially draw somebody back from that edge, but it is less than a handful of times in history ever been done, and it is not an easy thing to do. Most often, people who end up true evil either go on to do terrible things or they get killed by the people that they turned against. So that's the corruption score, and that also has a stat that you'll look at as we do it. So that's the core of the character sheet. Aside from those special things that I just pointed out, a lot of it's going to feel pretty familiar. If you've played a D20 system, you're going to know what you're doing. You've got your core abilities and stat scores. Oh, you know what? I should zoom in a little bit. I didn't realize how small that was for you guys. I'm sorry. Boop. All right, so just to kind of highlight that again, you've got stamina points here, hit points here, condition track here, corruption score here. Then you got your core attributes, and then you've got your 3 defense scores: fortitude, reflex, and will. Those represent different ways you can be attacked and how good you are at defending against those. So fortitude would be your ability to withstand things, whether it be poisons or concussive forces or something like that. Reflex is your ability to avoid things or respond to things before they do things to you. And will represents both your mental willpower in terms of trying to influence someone or resist somebody else trying to influence you, but also against certain magic and enchantments. Well, it's funny you say that, Dragon Little Soup Gaming. What if a dragon went crazy from corruption? Well, it just so happens one of the most powerful gods in the setting is true evil. His name is Grix. You should read about him. And he just so happens to have a very powerful dragon form. But those three are your defense scores. We don't do saving throws in the system. So if you're used to saving throws from Pathfinder, and if you're used to saving throws from 5e, you don't have that here. Things just attack your scores. So when you're going to be poisoned, you're not rolling a fortitude save or a constitution save to not get poisoned. A poison has a value and it attacks your fortitude score. And if it succeeds, you get poisoned. You'll have some abilities. Some of them are reactions and things like that that you can use to temporarily or momentarily increase your fortitude or something, things like that. But generally speaking, if it hits your score, it's got you. And then later on, you'll be able to make rolls to recover using Constitution or something like that. Special traits, those are going to be something probably from like your race, for example. Grix. 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 By the way, if you're curious about this stuff, I highly recommend going to our Patreon. You can get a 7-day free membership and look at this stuff now. You don't have to commit. You can just look through the gods and things like that and get an idea of the lore and know a little bit about what we're doing. And then after 7 days, if you got your fill and learned enough to be happy, you can let that lapse. Or you can pick a tier and go on to support and get all the stuff up front. But yeah, so that's what the core sheet looks like as a whole. So let me move away from that. Boom. All right. So now we're in the actual book. Now, very few have seen this. This is going to be, I think, the first time I've had the actual audience able to look at the core rule book that I have been writing. The people that I'm writing with have seen this, and a few of the artists and stuff that I work with who needed some specific references have seen some of this text. But generally speaking, this is the first glance I think you guys have seen of this. So we're doing character creation. I wish I had a better way to do this that I could zoom in and out, but I don't know that I can. Yeah, it doesn't really let me. But hey, you can see it here. So it's got the kind of steps you would generally expect, right? You generate your ability scores. Now, one thing that is a little bit different for Legend Seeker versus other systems, our primary method of ability scores is randomized. So a lot of systems, the standard is, hey, we're going to give you a package of scores, or we're going to give you some points and you spend them accordingly. In our system, the primary default way, and if we ever have like a Legend Seeker League or something like that, like the official way to do it would be to generate your scores. And I have, let's go to ability scores. So you roll 4d6 and you disregard the lowest and you keep the other 3, you total them, and that is one of your scores. This should give you a roll between 3, which is pretty bad, and 18, which is awesome. And the average score you can expect to get is around 10 or 11. But your character is, the average character out there, like in the universe, if they're a common person, is probably around 10 or 11. But so you're not average, so you're going to be closer on average to 12 and 13. You're going to make that roll 6 times because you have 6 stats, and then record that on your paper. And then once you have all 6 scores, you assign them to one of your core abilities. And at that point, you kind of know what you got going on. Let's see. We do have a rule in here for re-rolling. So it's not old school. You roll what you get and you're stuck with it, and that's it. If you're retarded, you're retarded. It's not that. It's re-rolling if you can't meet a certain average. So if your scores are too low, you may scrap them and re-roll all 6. So you can't pick and choose. You got to scrap them all. They're considered to be too low if your total modifiers before changes like race modifiers and things like that are 0 or less. So if you look at the average of your modifiers and you don't have anything that's +1, it's like the average is 0 or less. Or if your highest score is 13 or lower. So if you rolled like just below 13 across the board, you scrap them all, you re-roll again. You're a hero. You should have some good stats. That's the idea. There will be an optional standard score package that you can give to starting players. Or if you have a table that would like a little bit more structure, you can offer that to them as well. But that's not the default. That is the optional variant rule. Hi, Keaton. Good to see you out in the audience. He says, randomize unless chat steals your scores and give them to someone else. Luckily, usually most people don't have a chat to do that to them. So your players should be fine. And not everybody has chat bastards that I have. In fact, if you go to other chats on some of the more like happier side of the internet, we'll call it, very lovey-dovey chats that only want the heroes to ever win, and they take away dice rolls if they could and just let them automatically succeed. Not our chat bastards. They want to see suffering. They want to see suffering. Mostly mine. So we do that, and I did, prior to the stream, as I mentioned, already generate the scores for this character, and I did great. I'm going to tell you what those scores are in just a second.
But it was not scrappable. He's totally not scrappable. He is good. He's totally set.
Unfortunately, I was not scrappable, but I was pretty damn close. I did get a couple questions here that I didn't catch. Two's knows, do the VTTs allow you to create the stuff too? Do they allow you to? Sure. Is it feasible? It's expensive. There are system agnostic options. Where you're literally just rolling dice and there are no sheets. But yeah, if you want sheets and stuff, that takes a little bit of programming and a little bit of know-how, which is something I do intend to have, but it's not something I have right now. So I can't show you that right now. Froste is not rolling a character. He's just going along with me here and asking any questions that come to his brain as we go, which, by the way, Froste, if I didn't mention that, as I'm saying all this stuff, feel free to interrupt me and ask questions if you think there's something you've thought of, and probably chat's wondering too. I mean, what the hell?
Okay, so I can die in character creation if I don't roll high enough. That's all I needed to know. Got it.
We could consider that dying in character creation. I kind of like that. Your lowly farmhand never made it past the plague. Sorry. His stats were too low.
The glowing moonfish got him.
Oh, wait. But no, not Zathka. I didn't have to reroll. So Tomic said, how much hit points does a fighter have versus a wizard? Good question. So I'm going to go down here to, we're going to scroll down all the way to warrior. We're getting a little ahead of the character creation, but I'll show you this just to kind of show you what's going on. All right, let's see. So we're in the warrior page right now. So warriors start with stamina points equal to 8 plus their constitution modifier. And presumably a warrior probably has decent con. And then they get 1d6 stamina points plus their constitution. I'm going to change that. It should be stamina points plus their con modifier after. And then they get 5 hit points for their base. So that's pretty decent. Let's just assume they got a con of 2, a decent one. So that'd be 10 stamina points plus their 5 hit points. Plus, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Your race comes with the base hit points as well. For lizard folks, which is what we're making now, the base would be 4. So in this case, you'd have a hit points of 9 and a stamina of 10. If we go to wizard, actually, do I have wizard in here? No, I don't. Let me go to well, we can look. We can look and see if I started wizard. Hold on. Did I? No, I didn't. I just got the placeholder text. I haven't put wizard in here. So let's take a look at what's something else that would be squishy. Let's try a rogue. So rogues have 8 constitution plus their con modifier, and then they have 2 for their base hit points. So they're not very beefy, but they're still kind of good at keeping out of danger. I didn't put any of my casters in this document that I'm showing you guys yet. How about noble? Let's go to noble. Oh, this isn't right. All right, I know for a fact this one's wrong, so I will have to fix this. But nobles have 4 plus their constitution modifier, and then they have 2 for their hit points. So they would have, with the same build, 6 stamina points and 6 hit points. So a lot squishier, definitely a lot squishier. And then hit points don't change often. They only basically, it's based on your race, and they go up with con modifier, and they go up with every time you pass a rank, which is every 4 levels. You'll get another bonus to your hit points. They don't go up by much. Once you get down to hit points, you're in real trouble. Stamina, however, for example, with the barbarian, which is where we just were, they get an additional 1d12 plus their constitution every level. So your stamina is going to go up quite a bit, but your hit points will always be pretty low. Hopefully that answered that. Hiding yourself for a moment?
Yep, I'm back.
Oh, okay. All right. Making sure everything's good.
I was gonna roll up some stats really quickly just to see if I rolled as bad as you, just for no apparent reason. So
Did you?
I'm gonna hit a button here. I did, but nobody will believe it because I didn't roll it on screen. So I'm gonna do a different one because look at those stats; those are ridiculous. Everything is a positive.
Oh, yours are way better than mine. Holy shit!
So here we go. I'm gonna hit the button at the top of the screen. This is just me rolling some stats. Yes, it's still,
that's pretty good.
Not great.
I mean, it's better than what I got.
There you go.
Then Havoc said, how does damage mitigation for physical magical attacks work? Is it like 5e where if they roll higher than your armor, you take 100% of that damage, or is there ways to mitigate the damage when hit? So generally speaking, if you get hit, and then they roll your damage. There will be 2 types of damage mitigation scores. There is, well, I guess technically 3, but one of them is not so much mitigation as just you don't do damage. So there is immunity, of course. So if you have immunity to something, you will not take damage from it. There is resistance, which is very similar to what you have experienced before. You'll take half of whatever that damage value is for that damage type. And then there is damage reduction. And there will be class features, there will be armors, there will be enchantments, all sorts of things that can give you a damage reduction. What that says is for every set of damage you take, reduce that damage by a certain amount. And there'll be some things that ignore damage reduction. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, but yeah, there'll be some ways to not take that damage. In fact, there might even be abilities, right? Where you might, as a reaction, roll a d6, reduce the damage by that amount. So there are ways to reduce the damage, but generally speaking, if there's no damage reduction and you get hit and you don't have resistance, you're going to take that damage. Let's see. And then Dragon Noodle Soup says, how much more special are the player characters than your average NPC? Is it like D&D or like in Suede? Probably closer to D&D. I mean, I don't know. They're both pretty power fantasy. I think both of those, D&D and Suede, but I think Suede is definitely a couple notches more so. Characters are much more powerful in Suede, in my opinion, than they are in D&D. But in both systems, being a commoner is not great. But being like an average NPC that's like actually plot relevant, they're still going to be pretty substantially underpowered compared to you. You are a hero, generally speaking. If you're talking about like potential adversary NPCs, even if they're not your adversaries, so like guards or bounty hunters or goblins that you're fighting or things like that, that'll vary. They'll have their own whatever, but they're gonna be more of a challenge than a commoner. Okay, yeah, D&D civilians have like 4 HP. That's exactly right. And basically no good defenses. But yeah, you'll be significantly more powerful than a commoner. And one thing, there's some difference between player characters and NPCs, and one of them is that they won't have stamina points. They have their hit point block, And that's what they've got. The stamina thing is a player mechanic. So a commoner just has his HP, and he's not going to have a good day if you hit him. That's generally how that goes.
Don't slap the barmaid. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's very not nice.
Anybody.
Do not slap the barmaid. That's about right. All right, so the stats I rolled were phenomenal. I got a 16, a 13, a 14, a 13, an 8, and a 7. The 8 and the 7s were rather unfortunate, I have to say. And the others were kind of middling, and then I got one good stat, the 16. So I got a, well, I guess the 14 was pretty good too. So the 16 gave me a +2, the 14 gave me, or no, I'm sorry. And then, so those are my stats. And let me go to the sheet now. I'm going to just close this. We're going to go to the actual sheet where I filled stuff out. So here is Zethka, our barbarian. So as you can see, sorry, it blurs a little bit. This was not a good screen capture. This is part of what I was struggling with at the beginning of the stream. I couldn't figure out how to make it not blur. So after applying, so you know what, let me close this one more time. So right here is where the scores go, as you can see. But you might notice the numbers are a little bit different than what I just read off. And the reason for that is, once you pick your ability scores, you got to pick your race. Let's go take a look at that. Here we go. Character creation. All right, so you generate your ability scores. Once you've done that, you select your race. In Legend Seeker, there are multiple races you can pick, obviously. Your classics, you know, humans, dwarves, elves, those are all there. You'll also be able to play as lizard folk, small folk, gnomes, half elves, half orcs, not full orcs, just half orcs. And then you'll also have our character exclusive, or I'm sorry, our setting exclusive races. The mums, which are kind of like sentient plant folk, and then we have the soul forged, which are these sort of socially homeless constructs of people that used to be actual beings who were tricked by Grix during the Godkiller War and had their souls trapped in these avatars. And then once the war was over and they were freed from that life of servitude, they didn't really know what to do with themselves. So they've been trying to find a new purpose in this life, knowing they can never go back to being what they were. So those are two of the setting specific races. In this case, we're making our character Zethka, who is a lizard folk. So we're going to go take a look at lizard folks. Oops, I scrolled too far. Lizard folks. So when you open the book to Legend Seeker, first off, the final book will actually have artwork. This is just the Word document, so sorry for the lack of art here. But you're going to have an overview of the race themselves. So kind of tell you a little bit about who they are, what their behavior's like, how most people see that race, and their history in Erudia specifically. And then it's going to go down to a page where it's got character traits. And in this case, they get +2 to strength, +2 to constitution, but -2 to intelligence. They got little lizard brains after all. And so that is why when you look at my sheet, I have slightly better scores in some places than I did when I actually rolled. So my strength is an 18, which is pretty damn good. And then my con is a 16 because of those racial benefits that I got. And then unfortunately, my intelligence was lower. But good news, I had a 13. So I was like, I don't want to hit my intelligence too hard. I feel like Zethka, despite not being highly educated, is a pretty intelligent guy, at least average. So I put a 13 there, and the -2 brought him down to an 11. Although he's not all that wise. We know that because he chased after a fish when he was supposed to be on duty. And he's not all that charismatic. He comes off a little gruff and perhaps unappreciative and condescending to others, even if that's not how he feels in his heart. So those are the scores that I gave him. That is my build that I would have done with those scores. Now, the actual official character will probably have different scores than this, but that is what he ended up with. So that is what makes the core of your character. Boop. And then on top of that, you also get a bunch of other stuff for lizard folk. They got a speed of 6. As I mentioned before, their base hit points are first. So remember, as I said earlier, your hit points are a combination of your class base hit points and your race base hit points. It's assumed as a barbarian, you're typically going to be a bigger, beefier person. You've had to live a very rugged life out there. So you're going to be a bit beefier than most. And then lizard folk themselves are pretty hardy. So they've got a base of 4. Barbarians are 5. So if you put them both together, that'll be 9. We'll see that here in just a second. They also have a natural armor, which I actually forgot to account for on my sheet. I just realized. But they get +1 to their armor and their defense for both fortitude and reflex. And then hold breath. They can hold their breath for extended periods of time, whether that be in water or toxic environments. They do get a swim speed, so they're not in difficult terrain if they're swimming. And they have dark vision. They have a minor version of regeneration, so they can, if you have a limb or whatever that's not doing that great, it'll come back after a certain amount of time. They also get tough, which has a different name, I think, now, but basically they get a few extra HP for being lizard folk, which I also didn't account for on my sheet yet. And then they get their languages. They get common tongue, not draconic. I gotta look at the languages. I'm sorry, I'm looking at an older version of my document. This is the one I have open to everybody, not my personal one, where the updates are. But they got their lizard folk language there. And then you get your intelligence score worth of languages as well, half your intelligence score. And then it talks about the personality, their average height and weight, and that sort of thing. And then in our universe, in our setting, so something I didn't mention, the game master, the dungeon master in our setting is called the Legend Keeper, or Keeper for short. The players are the Legend Seekers, or Seekers for short. So it talks about what does a seeker look like as a lizard folk in this setting. What kind of lizard folk goes out seeking legends and becoming a legend. And it talks about that a little bit. So that is where you get all those characteristics from. And that is where I would pull the stuff that we see here. Now, as mentioned, I did forget a couple things, but that's all right. So stamina, which is, as I mentioned, kind of the stat that's easier to heal and represents you not taking lethal damage as of yet. That is a combination of your starting class number plus your modifier, which in this case I wound up with 13. And then hit points is the class plus the race plus your con, so I ended up with 9. And then also I should have a couple more because of no, I'm sorry, tough goes to stamina. Well, I should actually have a little bit more stamina than we see here as well because of my lizard folk trait, but I did not account for that. And then you have the fortitude defense, which is what plays into the condition track. So if you get dealt, in this case, 15 damage or more in one hit, then your condition track will go down. And condition tracks apply penalties to things. If you get enough of them, if you get knocked down the track 5 times, you're basically unconscious. All right. Before I go any further,
and, how do you repair condition track? Is it time? Only time?
No. So in combat for our system, you have a 3-action economy, and you can give up actions or spend actions towards going up the condition track. So Star Wars has something similar, but they have a variety of different types of actions. They've got actions, move actions, swift actions, like 5 different types of actions. This one you're actually taking from your regular actions to do this, so it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder to overcome. Right now, I have that number set at 3, and you can space it out across several turns, so you don't have to do it all in one turn. You can go hide behind a rock and spend 3 actions to go up 1 on the condition track, or you can be fighting and kind of like recover yourself as you go. Some classes, we're going to talk about talents here in a second. You can pick a talent or something that will let you do that in less, or let you make a roll to go up, or that sort of thing. But the general way to do it is to spend actions. Outside of combat, it's gonna be the equivalent. So roughly after about a minute, 2 minutes of just kind of sitting down and catching your breath, you'll go back up on the condition track. The caveat would be there are some things that will be called permanent or lingering injuries, depending on the terminology we're going to go with. So you might get hit by an ability or fail a hazard or something that gives you a lingering condition. And if it knocks you down the condition track, it will remain until whatever that condition is fixed. So maybe you break your leg. So maybe there's like a bone breaker feature or something, and somebody breaks your leg. So they try to do that move on you. If they succeed and you go down 2 on the condition track, that 2 on the condition track won't change until you can mend that leg. And that might require a medicine check or some kind of roll or a set amount of time or some other condition for that effect to go away. So that's generally how that tree will work.
Cool.
Unless I've got some other questions. So, can you have a racing class combo whose hit points are the absolute worst possible? You sure can, of course. Yeah, if you pick the frailest race and the frailest class, yeah, you're gonna wind up with some pretty low hit points. Your SP will always be decent, but your hit points can be pretty low. And those classes especially, okay, if that combination, like if you were a gnome noble, you've probably only got like 3 or 4 hit points, which is not great. In fact, that's pretty scary. You definitely want to try to stay out of the front line and not get down to your hit points ever. So that's kind of yeah, that'd be a scary thing for sure. Dragonal Soup, are there any spells that age character, and can these spells affect things like corruption over time, fatigue, or healing? Yes, there are effects that can age characters. No, they probably won't affect corruption. Your corruption is your corruption, and there's no way for aging somebody to predict what your character would have done while they were aging, so that probably wouldn't make any sense. There are definitely some creatures that play with corruption, though. All of these mechanics get played with by NPCs at some point. For example, demons delight in chaos, and they delight in tempting you towards corruption. They want you to be corrupt. They love that. So there will be some that'll have abilities that target your will score, and if they succeed, they will add a corruption score to your score. And some of them will give you a choice. So for example, there's a creature I haven't revealed yet, so I don't want to say too much about it. But its ability is to tempt you into a shortcut to power. And so this temptation ability it uses is it targets your will score. If it succeeds, the player chooses between taking -4 to their next hit or taking a corruption point. So it's like this game of temptation, like tempting them and distracting them through fear and temptation. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. All the mechanics get toyed with at some point or another. Some creatures will focus on hitting your condition track. They don't really care about your hit points and stuff. There are some things that drain your ability scores, which are another form of character death, right? If your strength score gets drained down to 0, you're dead. You're dead. You were so malnourished, you atrophy to death. So there are things
it's gonna hit your charisma. It's going after Zatka's charisma. Definitely.
Yes, definitely. There is actually in the book, this book here, there's a narrative example at the start of it that kind of talks about what an encounter might look like. And I wrote in a creature called a memory wraith who specifically saps at your intelligence and takes your memories. It collects memories. And Zathka, being a character who specifically is trying to remember the names of his clans and honor them, feels like they're trying to steal the names from him, and he makes a comment to that effect, like, you won't have their names, and like goes after them. So yeah, a lot of really cool thematic things that you can do with these abilities and what have you. Havoc says, is there any means in the game to increase the number of actions you have access to from 3 to 4 or 5 on certain occasions through abilities, effects, or special circumstances? Yes. Nothing typically is going to be like standard. You're not going to get 5 actions every round like you do in 5e as a high-level barbarian. But there will be moments when you can take additional actions if you meet certain circumstances. And we're going to talk about momentum here in just a moment, which this is the older character sheet. I have a new one coming that's going to have a momentum category, which is not displayed on here yet. So we'll talk about that. And Valrock says, if a leg is broken for a number of days, would it be reasonable for a lizard folk to just cut it off and regrow it faster than the broken bone can mend itself? Yes! If you're willing to completely cut off your leg, which is going to give you a stat penalty of some kind, in order to let it mend itself faster, sure, why not? That's a good tactic. It's going to hurt, but you can do it. I should have known. I should have known Keaton was going to tone in on the lizard folk here. He loves a good lizard, as we all know.
You just have a little pink baby leg for a couple of days or something, right?
Yeah, a little nub, a little shiny nub. Oh my god. All right, let's go back to looking at this sheet here. And then, of course, yeah, you got your defense scores down here, which are determined by your level. So we're level 1. You get a bonus from your class, in this case, as a barbarian. Actually, let's look at barbarian. Let's go to the barbarian class. I will come back to this in a second. So when you go to a class, it's going to be kind of the same thing. It's going to give you some flavor. So it's going to have a couple examples of what a barbarian looks like in this setting, so you understand what it is. And Legend Seeker, we very much preach the concept of that classes represent an actual thing in the universe. They're not just a thing for you to reskin with other concepts. Like when somebody encounters a witch, when they encounter a barbarian, when they encounter a wizard or whatever in this universe, this is how it functions. I know it's kind of commonplace in like 5e to be like, well, I'm gonna make a rogue and I'm gonna put it together with warlock, but I'm not a warlock. I'm also not a rogue. I'm a rune knight, and that's how I'm reflavoring it because I like those mechanics better. But I like the flavor of rune knight. It doesn't work like that way in Legend Seeker. Of course, your keeper can allow anything they want, but as standard, a barbarian represents a barbarian, and so this flavor text gives you an idea of what you can expect as a barbarian, what it feels like to be a barbarian. And it gives you 3 different examples of a different race with a different set of skills that have been picked and what it would function like. Then it's going to kind of give a general summary of the class without the flavor of the narrative. And then it's going to give an idea of, if you were a seeker, what it might look like narratively in the world for you and why you'd be out seeking legend. Then you get to the actual nuts and bolts of what makes the barbarian mechanically a barbarian. And it's going to list all those things we talked about before, right? What are your stamina points? What are your hit points? What are your hero points? Actually, let's just say hit points. Hero points, everybody gets 3. Then you get some class features. That's where you get these defense bonuses I was talking about, right? So in this case, I got +1 to my fortitude and 1 to my reflex. You're going to start with some class feats. And then you're going to get your equipment, obviously. So in this case, height armor, a great axe, 2 hand axes, and an explorer's pack. And that's when we get to momentum. So momentum is something specifically for martial classes to make them a little bit more exciting and give you something to build for. Because one thing I do notice about martial classes in most D20 games is they kind of have their like one thing they can do, walk around and hit things. And occasionally they can invoke an ability to hit a little harder or have an effect happen or whatever. We wanted it to be a little bit more exciting to be a character in our setting that is martial. So you'll get a momentum pool of points. So in this case, you have a momentum of 4 times your character rank. So as a level 1 character, you'd have 4 momentum. At least a pool size of 4. You always start out with 0, so it's 0 out of 4. And then you have ways to earn momentum. And so in our system, as a barbarian, the way that you can earn momentum, you get a momentum if you score what's called a heavy hit, which means you have not only met whatever defense you're attacking, in this case probably reflex. So say the reflex is 10. You need to get not just 4 above, but 8 above. If you can get 8 above that score, so at 18, when you only needed a 10 to hit them, that's considered a heavy hit. And there are some specific things that come with a heavy hit, but mostly it's a tag that'll activate other abilities. But in this case, it'll gain you momentum. So if you score a heavy hit, you hit them really hard, you gain a momentum. If you score a critical hit, you'll gain 2 momentum. At any time you fell an enemy down to 0 HP, you gain 2 momentum. So those are the 3 ways as a barbarian that you gain momentum. And then you can spend your momentum to do some special abilities off of the momentum table for your class. So for a barbarian, you can spend 1 momentum to do a knockback effect, which you compare your result to both their reflex and their fortitude. If it's also greater than their fortitude, you knock them back 10 feet. And you can make that decision after you've seen your result. So you can spend that momentum once you know, hey, yeah, I did clear the fortitude. You don't have to do it beforehand. You can spend a momentum to get +5 extra speed. So kind of have like a barbarian burst of energy. You can spend 2 momentum to do a fast strike. Now, somebody was asking about extra attacks. This is one of those ways you can do that. You make an additional melee attack as a free action once per round. So you can spend that 2 momentum to get an extra attack that round, a little bit more action economy. Then you can do Feel No Pain for 2 momentum, reduce damage from an incoming attack or range attack by 1d6 per character rank. So as a level 1 character, that would be a 1d6. So you can spend 2 momentum if somebody tries to attack you to kind of shake off up to 6 damage of that. So those are ways that we got momentum there. Some other books will eventually expand those tables. There might even be some talents that add to those tables, depending on your class. But that is what the momentum tree does. And then their class feature is Rage. As a free action, you can enter a state of Rage, awakening the primal force within you. And that gives you stamina points. This number is probably going to change. This is the placeholder information because this is my working document. You get temporary stamina points equal to 5 times your character rank. So as this is written, it would be 5. It's going to be higher than that. And then you get +5 on strength-based checks and to your damage threshold. So you're swinging your axe, things like that. You're going to get a, if it's based on strength, you're going to get a +5 bonus to it. And then your damage threshold will go up by 5, meaning it's a lot harder to knock you down the condition tree. And then you're immune to the frightened condition and get a +2 defense to will against mind-affecting effects. So if it's a power or a spell that specifically is targeting your mind, you're too much of a rage to deal with that. And you can still get your momentum. It lasts for 2 rounds plus your con modifier. So for us, that's going to be 5 rounds. And you cannot just leave rage. Once you've raged, you're kind of lost to it. If you want to try to get out of your rage, you kind of have to break your own will. Now this says will save. I have to change the language on this, but essentially what it's going to be is you making your wisdom against your own will defense score. So you're going to roll your wisdom against your own will. And if you can get past your own will, then you can leave the rage early. If you run out of stamina, you lose your rage. So if you drop down to your hit points, and you can only do this once per encounter. If you want to do it again, you can actually spend momentum for this. So that's another way you can use momentum as a barbarian. So those are the core features that come with a barbarian class. That is the core feature. So if we go to back to our character sheet here, down where it says special traits, that's where you're going to write that stuff. So your traits for being a barbarian or being a lizard folk would be listed in that box there. And typically the way this sheet works, it doesn't leave a room to put the entire ability. You just write the ability name, the abbreviation for the book. Each book is going to have its own special abbreviation that's annotated at the start of the book, and then the page number and where that ability can be found. So if you need quick reference, you can go look at it, but you'll know what it is. And then the next thing you got to do as a character is pick a talent. So at this point, you have listed your features, you've You've put in your class scores, your HP, your stamina, your racial features and stats. All that stuff's done. Now it's about getting down to the nitty-gritty of your character. And you've got starting edges. And at first level, I don't think you gain an edge unless you're human. So as a lizard folk, we won't get to pick an edge this time around, but we will get to pick a talent. So we don't do subclasses in this system. So a lot of classes like Pathfinder and D&D and stuff, they have kind of these subclasses. You pick that class, and then you're kind of locked into it for the rest of your progression, outside of, multi-classing to a completely different class. In this system, it's kind of like you build your own subclass. And what you do is you've got talent trees. This would probably be more similar to something like World of Warcraft, where you've got your talent points you spend on your skill trees. Kind of like that, except for you're picking very specific things. So, for example, as the Barbarian, we've got the Berserk talent tree. I just realized you can see the words through Froste's face. That's really funny when he goes away. You've got the Outlander talent tree and the Animal Aspect talent tree. And then there's a fourth one that isn't ready for this document yet that we're going to have as well. And each of these have their own pluses and minuses. And you can go two ways with it. You can invest heavily into a tree and kind of treat it like a subclass and pick talents from that tree. And some of them have prerequisites that build on the prior talents. Or you can kind of pick and choose out of all of the talent trees to make your own kind of subclass, doing a sort of custom combination. Now, for the purpose of this character that we're making, I have elected that we want to do the Berserk talent tree. And the idea behind this one is the more you bleed, the more your opponent is stricken with fear. Your rage is fueled by conflict and adrenaline. You perform best when everything is at stake. And so the first one is Frenzy, and that's the one I would probably pick for Zathka. And it says when you go into a rage, you may also choose to Frenzy. If you do, the cost of Fast Strike is reduced to 0 momentum. This attack does not suffer multi-action penalties. When your rage ends, you move 2 steps down the condition track, which can only be recovered through short rest, long rest, magical healing, or by spending 3 momentum per step recovered, if you have it. So the idea here is that, so if you remember on the momentum table, you have the option for this Fast Strike for 2 momentum to make an additional melee attack as a free action every round. If you have this Frenzy talent, you get to do that every round for free, as long as you're in a rage, and you don't get the penalties to it either. So the multi-action penalties you get for taking multiple attacks in a round don't apply. But then when your rage is over, you feel the fatigue afterwards, and you go down on the condition track 2 steps, and then you have to take a short rest, which is an hour, do a long rest, have a magical healing effect that could target this. Or if you have any momentum left over at the end of combat, if you got enough, you can spend 3 to go back up another step. I don't know, man. You know how long it's been since I played World of Warcraft? What's a better example? Diablo 2. Diablo 2 had the talent trees, right? Where you put the points in and it branches open and then what have you. But you don't have to like stay to any one talent tree. You can just build it the way you want. Same thing here is the same concept. But that's what Frenzy would do. And that's how I would probably start off this Barbarian. To give you another example, though, if we were to do the Outlander version, they have Reckless Fury, and it says at the start of your turn, you may choose to attack recklessly. If you do so, until the start of your next turn, you get +2 to all melee rolls that use strength and take -2 to your reflex defense. So it's sort of kind of like attacking with reckless abandon and not worried about yourself. So there are definitely different ways you could build. And to show you kind of how the talent trees build off of each other, improved Frenzy, which would be kind of the next step up from this Frenzy. So a couple levels later, you can pick this as a talent as Frenzy, but you also do +2 damage to all melee attacks made during a frenzy, and you only move one step down the condition track when the rage ends. You also regain 1 momentum the first time you take damage each round while frenzied. So it's kind of like you're even more frenzied, and you're kind of feeding off of the rage of others when they hit you and stuff. It's pretty cool. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. And of course, you can build more and more into that talent tree if you really just want to go full on. I'm a berserk barbarian, or you can take a little bit from Outlander, a little bit from Berserk, maybe even grab an animal aspect and make your own sort of custom-made barbarian. So what do you think, Frost? Any questions on any of that?
So when you take something like barbarian, can people take a casting class?
Yeah, so multi-classing, we do a little bit differently in Legend Seeker. Partially because I wanted to prevent a little bit of the power creep, because power creep limits design. When everything's too modular, it allows the game to be broken to a point where now anything you put in has a chance of really just busting the game, or you having to scrap it or whatever. So we wanted to kind of limit that a little bit. Also, I just think there's a good narrative element that should go into multi-classing. Like, you shouldn't go to sleep one night and just wake up the next night as a warlock. Like, there should be something that happens between that time. You should have spent a little bit of time trying to uncover those secrets and find a patron and, you know, whatever. Like, there should be some time that passes. So the way we do it is every 5 levels, there is a secondary label called a rank that kind of describes that set of 4 levels. So level 1 through 4 is the novice tier. Levels 5 through 8, that is the veteran tier or whatever, right? All the way up to legendary, which is the last 4 levels. Every time you pass a rank, at that point, you can choose to take on another class or take on a prestige class, but not both. So if you want to multi-class, you can once you hit the next rank. So you need at least 4 levels in your current class, and then you get to start looking at doing other stuff. With casters specifically, there's also a limitation. You can only ever have 1 casting class. Each casting class has its own set of mechanics. There's a core magic system, but each magic casting class alters that system just a little bit to play it slightly differently. So it wouldn't be mechanically feasible to mix them, but also narratively, you're getting your powers from a different place. And it just makes more sense for the casters to, once you have found your access to the mana stream, that's how you get it. Are you getting it through a patron? Are you getting it through arcane study and understanding and figuring out how to break through that steel on your own through knowledge? Did you get it from a god? That's a divine way of getting it. And so once you have that way of getting it, that's your way of getting it. You're not going to get the other way. So narratively, once you know how to tap into the mana stream or are given a way to, there's no need to find the others. So you're kind of locked in that 1 caster class. You can do as many martial classes as you want, right? So you could be a barbarian, monk, rogue, wizard if you worked really hard at it. But generally speaking, you only have 1 caster class. Now, that's not to say there won't be other things to tap into magically, because there are going to be prestige classes, right? So there might be a more elevated version of wizard. There might be a combination of when you take enough skills in fighter and enough levels in wizard, you can then take the eldritch knight prestige class, things like that. So there's still ways to do really cool things with magic and feel like you're multi-classing as a caster, but the core classes, you can only ever pick 1 on the magic side.
Can I be a really angry archer barbarian? I'm just asking, for a friend.
Yeah, you can be a very
friend being any random person out there who wants to try and break a class by doing everything that everyone doesn't expect from the class.
You could certainly be an angry archer barbarian. If you just go pure barbarian, you might not be the best at it, but you could definitely do it. Or, after spending 4 levels as a barbarian, maybe you take a level of rogue so he can be a little okay at shooting arrows and stuff. I also know
javelins hitting the building next to you angrily. Who's throwing these? They seem so angry.
And there might be options for things like a talent tree in the future. So generally speaking, we're not going to add more classes. If we do, it'll be very rare. But for the most part, our books won't add more classes. They'll expand the current ones by adding new talent trees. So maybe there is down the road some sort of talent tree for barbarian that's like gives you options for strength bows, right? You learned how to use a bow using your strength rather than your dexterity, things like that. So maybe there's all sorts of ways things could happen as we learn to play the game. And if you were to be a human or something like that, you could also pick an edge. So generally you would pick an edge at this point, and there's a whole list of them. We're not going to go through that now because we're not a human and we're about wrapped on time anyways. That more or less wraps up character creation, at least for a barbarian. Okay, now we didn't go into being a caster class. We're going to do another one of these streams once I have a more, once I'm a little happier with where my casters are at. That's the area where we're doing the most reworking. As I'm finding that I need to retool some things on the caster side. But once I am ready to do a caster class, we'll do another character build of one of the iconic casters. And we'll talk about spells. How do you pick your spells? We'll talk about what your spell casting ability looks like and how the core magic system works and how the class comes in and shakes it up a little bit for you. Yeah, and to give you some examples of what that might mean, this is a rough example. Don't take this as the final gospel for what the Warlock and Witch does. But, for example, they accumulate less powers, but because they are channeling the mana stream through their patron, and it's a gift from their patron that is allowing them, the patron gives them this extra level of defense against the corruption itself. So they get a bonus to resisting corruption from how they use their powers. They get a smaller number of powers, but they can channel the spell harder than most people can because of that protection. So they always get a +5 to any spell casting roll they do, which means traditionally they're going to punch out that power stronger than other people do. Because remember, our spells kind of go up as the higher your roll goes up. And they can also take a few shortcuts that gives them an opportunity to have some power spikes at the risk of gaining a little corruption from delving too deep. So very fundamentally different, for example, from how using the same magic system, you will play as a wizard, because it'll change how you interact with your own spell hand and stuff. So really cool stuff. I think you guys are going to like it. The more I work on this, the more excited I get. I really just want you guys to have it in your hands. I know it takes a long time. I do. But it's a lot of work, and maybe more work than I thought when I went into it, but I think you guys will be happy when it's done. Any thoughts from you, Frost? I'll go see if Chrysantha gathered any questions I missed.
One question I did have, and you may have answered this one of the times I had to step away briefly, was for corruption. I know it makes your life more difficult once you start gaining it. Is there a way that people would, like using any kind of a dark gift, like, yeah, it's bad because it gives you a minus on X, Y, or Z, or something prone. Is there a bonus to holding like to a certain level of corruption? Could somebody be like, I keep myself on the ragged edge because I get a bonus. I just want to go any deeper. I'm living with the negative because of this cool little bonus I get.
Could be. That probably, so the core classes probably won't have that. That definitely sounds like a prestige edge. Cool. So there's going to be more lore to things like the monks, for example. When you finally get to read about the monks and their orders and why they practice the way they do, they're kind of Jedi-like in a way. They kind of have like a code to keep from delving, because unlike everybody else, they fine-tune their bodies to get really in tune with themselves. And while they're not casters, they do channel the mana stream through their own bodies, which is incredibly dangerous. No other casting class does this. But they'll occasionally do that to pull off telekinetic effects and things like that. But they've become so in tune with themselves that they feel like they can use themselves as a foci, but that is incredibly dangerous. And so they are taught ways to meditate, to relieve that corruption, to protect against that corruption. There will be all sorts of different sects, not SEX, but like SECTS, and aspects of things like there might be a kind of rogue order of monks that call themselves Grey Walkers or something, and they are doing exactly what you're talking about. They toe the line, and there's some sort of benefit they get with their talents they pick, perhaps for doing that. So we could definitely have stuff like that. Corruption is going to play into the game, and so will alignment in ways that the other systems don't really touch. There'll be doors, for example, to temples that will not open for somebody who has a corruption score that is greater than half their wisdom. There'll definitely be sex in Legend Seeker as well, if you want it, Velrock, to answer your question. But no, I meant the other kind of SCC, whatever that word is. But yeah, so an alignment will change things. Some weapons, if they're intelligent weapons, might fight against you if they know you're evil. They might work with you better if they know you're evil, things like that. So certain like environments will react differently to you based on your alignment or corruption scores. So they'll matter. They're going to matter. And it'll be real interesting to see how we play with that within the modules and things. All right, to go down to some questions here. Goodrin says, does caffeine increase charisma? Of course. Have you met me? Can that also count as a ration? Of course. Have you met me? The Fantastic Sarcastic. So how do you flavor characters' abilities so each character of the same class isn't the same? I mean, you can flavor it to a degree, right? It falls into the same realm of being reasonable. If you are a divine cleric and you're serving Xerath, it makes sense that your holy smite, instead of just being a flash of yellow energy, might look like fire, right? That's fine. It's more of the stuff I'm talking about with reflavoring is when people go really extreme with it. Like, I'm going to take the class of rogue and I'm going to take the class of warlock wizard. I'm going to put those together, but I'm not a rogue and I'm not a wizard. I am a rich billionaire in the town of, what's a town? Wherever, Concordia, and I call myself Metal Man, and I have a suit that I made, and I'm just a rich billionaire with technology, and all my powers are actually just technology. There's no arcane to it or whatever. So I'm flavoring everything as, I didn't spend man, I spent money. No, that's not how it works. So that's what I mean by reflavoring. People go really far with it, especially in the D&D community, because they've pushed the rule of cool to the fraying ends of what it should be. So if you're not going like extreme, right? If you're not trying to turn your fireball into like something mechanically different, like a ball of necrotic energy that now does necrotic energy instead of fire, that's a step too far. But if you want your fireball to explode in the shape of a heart, okay, who cares? Do whatever you want in that regard. Havoc suggestion: when you crit fail, roll, and if you crit, you get 1 to 2 momentum like a desperation move. Interesting. Two's knows, do your classes have weapon specializations? Some do. The warrior probably taps into that a little bit. Havoc says, any chance there will be talent trees that can be unlocked through unique circumstances like Oathbreaker Paladins and 5e? Funny you mention that. Yes, if you break your oath as a paladin, there is a talent tree for that, and that'll be found in the Keeper section of the book. There's also going to be a blood magic talent tree for those who are crazy enough to pursue blood magic. I don't recommend it unless you want to, I don't know, whenever you roll a critical 1, summon a demon that wants to kill you. But that talent tree does exist. And there'll also be talent trees that are unique to other things that aren't classes. So, for example, there might be a faction. And if you join that faction and narratively are a part of that faction and still are when you level up, I don't know, we'll just make a Thieves Guild or something. Or I haven't announced the other thing yet. So, okay, yeah, Thieves Guild. We'll say that, right? So that Thieves Guild might have a talent tree that's specifically associated with it that you can pick from. But any character that feasibly has joined this faction could use that talent tree. In the case of a cleric or a paladin, you actually have core class talent trees. There'll be like 2 of them. And then your third talent tree is going to be based on your god. So whatever god you're worshiping has their own talent tree that you can pick from because you are worshiping getting your power from them. So yeah, lots of ways to use talent trees as well. Is it possible to get one rank in every class? I don't think so. I think the max classes you can get are 5. Dragadoodle Soup, I assume there's spells that let you sense corruption. Of course there are, or even abilities, probably. There'll be a spell for it for sure, and I believe the Paladin's just simply going to have a talent for it as well. Dragadoodle Soup, could you give NPCs and enemies corruption? Absolutely. Is it possible for people to offset corruption by loading it on someone else? Not currently. If there was, it would probably be a narrative device, not a game mechanic. Most likely, if there's going to be you gaining corruption, it's going to be from you interacting with things you shouldn't, delving too deeply, a creature tempting you in some way, and you failing to resist them, or whatever the case might be. And then Havoc says, maybe you find a cursed item that unlocks talent trees. That's a possibility. I hadn't thought about item talent trees. Probably more difficult, because most of those would probably be very, very, very narrative based. But that'd be a lot of work for an item that most likely won't end up in most campaigns. But it's an interesting thought that could be worth exploring in some capacity. Any last questions from you, Frost, before we close this thing down?
No, nothing I need to ask you here. When I was working on some of the artifacts and items and stuff, I was putting together notes about things that they did and what they had and stuff. And each one of those, like I had the swords that were created by Vulcan for heroes for the war, and Davila's corruption is basically in all, well, 7 of them, not the 8th one, which is similar to what the Mana Stream does. So I'm thinking that if they end up having some sort of a talent tree, not that they find them, I hope, that might be a factor in it. The cost of doing it is it's always tempting you with corruption. So I like the idea of something like that. It's super powerful. Do you really want to wear it? You want to pull that thing out of the scabbard? Okay. Good luck.
Have fun. Hope you don't lose your character. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you like what you saw today. I know we're a little over time. We started a little bit late, so I guess you can probably forgive me. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment them on this video. And I will try to answer them for the next stream. The other thing you can do, which I highly, highly encourage, guys, we need you more than ever. We're getting into that phase where support is going to be critical, particularly with some of the plans I have coming up for potentially Dallas, and some presentations I need to do for some certain individuals. If you have the means, if you've ever been interested, if you want to support anything that I'm doing, out of anything, if there's anything I could ask you to support, please consider supporting Legend Seeker. There are options as low as $5 a month. There are options all the way up to $250 a month if you want to be a Mythic supporter, in which you can get some really cool exclusive stuff. But all of those things help a lot. They're going to help with the art, which we're still painfully behind on. I'm thinking about doing maybe a one-time fundraiser for that. I'm still mulling that over, if that's going to be something that's not going to get me a lot of grief. I'm looking at possibly doing that. But yeah, the artwork is pretty big. We're getting close to the point of I'm going to need to start hiring an editor to start going through this stuff and checking for the consistencies, because I've been told, I assume reliably by a few authors, that editing your own work isn't the best idea. So we'll hire an editor and get them to go line by line on this and make sure everything is clean and whatever, and then play tests and what have you. All of that stuff, it costs money. And when you guys support, it's incredibly helpful to doing so. So please, please, please consider supporting Legend Seeker. Again, it supports us. You get priority access to the information when it comes out. You also will get to do play tests, which, as you can see, we're getting to the point here. I'd actually hoped to announce a playtest tonight, but I think I'm going to hold off just a little bit longer to revise a couple things. But we should have some controlled playtests coming up soon. And so as a supporter, if you are a Patreon supporter, those are the people that will get to sign up for these playtests. And plus other goodies. If you're a higher tier, there are exclusive minis. You can get characters made of yourself or your own characters or whatever in the universe. Lots of really cool stuff. To thank you for being a generous supporter and helping us get this project off the ground. And of course, you can share this with other people. If you're already a member, you can gift memberships to people, or you can just share it for free on your social media accounts. Be like, hey guys, check this out. There's a free 7-day trial. Go take a look. Ruda's working really hard over here. He's putting something together that is getting closer and closer to being super polished. And we've liked what we've seen. I hope you have. And yeah. What, Dallas isn't going to exist after this week? It's going to be frozen over? Oh, God. Let's hope not. Yeah, I'm hearing there's a winter storm coming. I don't know how I missed this information, but I probably should maybe prep for that. Any closing notes from you, Frost?
No, I'm happy that you were able to get this all together so we can get people the sneak peek into this, and I'm looking forward to the controlled play tests and well, everything else that's going on. I think it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. And every time we do one of these, I put notes off to myself on the side of like, I could add this to this area, like being able to go into a place that has that requires you to not have corruption. If you have corruption, you can get in. Works really well for like the temples of the Vale. And some other areas and stuff. Is like, oh, yeah, good luck trying to get in there. If you're not corrupted, nope, you're going to have a bad time going through the door. So yeah, I just find this to be productive and fun, and I think it's enthused people. I hope it's enthused people. It seems like it has.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions. I've seen new faces. I've even seen some. I've seen some new free members over on Patreon of people who are clearly watching this and going to check it out. Hopefully we'll see some of them convert to full contributors, and that would be fantastic. But I love, at the very least, seeing people are curious and wanting to know what we're doing. That's what we're doing it for, and it makes me very happy. It makes me very happy to see that. But all right, leave questions in the comments. If you don't have any questions, leave a comment about what the favorite thing you heard today was. What was your favorite part about character creation or the lore that we talked about or anything? Please leave any kind of comments on these streams, including his writing streams, because not only does it help with the algorithm, as you well know, but with Legend Seeker specifically, that's going to help us engage people and hear what people think, and even spark up conversation. Part of what's fun about doing this and what I really want to see is you guys starting to talk back and forth about your theories, how you would build, what lore you like, and arguing about that a little bit. So please do leave comments about what you like and don't like, and maybe that'll spark more conversation, which will spark more curiosity, which will spark more support, and that's what we're hoping for. So other than that, it's Thursday. No, it's Wednesday. So the next thing will be Strange Eons on Friday, and then of course we have we have Legend Seeker tomorrow. So Frost Written on Thursday, Strange Eons on Friday, and then of course Alien will be happening on Saturday. So come check all that out. We're doing a lot over here on Moonskull, and it's all for you guys. If you don't check it out, we're doing it for no one. All right, talk to you guys later.